Welcome, everyone, to this class, which is all about conflict and how to deal with it. I'm not entirely sure I know how to deal with it, but you just have faith. I'm going to be teaching a few exercises that have really helped me deal with conflict. I also want to tell you that we're teaching a live class next Saturday. It's going to be at Heart Space in Orange County. That class begins at, can you help me with that, Jim? Is it 1 o'clock in the
2 p.m.
afternoon? 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The topic of the class next Saturday is going to be unconscious versus conscious manifestation. Well, what does that mean? It means that we're always creating our life. We're always manifesting all the time, whether we realize it or not. What we want to do is we want to manifest consciously. We want to choose the things we're experiencing in our present and our future. We don't necessarily want to just rerun old patterns, rerun old wounds, or just sort of go back and forth with old sort of emotional dramas that we're familiar with, but we can't seem to get out of. So we're still manifesting, but we may be manifesting more from the past. Now, this class is going to be all about a few fairly easy ways to get out of that and to clear the deck so that we can just manifest what we want without the old patterns. We're also having a weekend seminar in Idlewild that will be the first weekend of April. We have that at the Silver Pines Lodge in Idlewild. It's a very comfortable, secluded place where you can just park your car for the whole weekend and walk to a restaurant or walk to a cafe. And we're doing classes to really enable us to get into this work, to get into this energy work, this light work, to really sort of streamline our life, to get enough skills going so that we can come back to our everyday life and say, okay, this problem I can solve, and I'm going to really manifest this, and this, and I know how to do it. The same will be taught in Maui the first weekend in May. So if you're interested in that, we do have some spaces available. We're also taking a group to Ireland again this summer. We're going the week of the summer solstice. We go to very isolated areas of County Cork and County Kerry that I'm familiar with. We're mainly there to connect with the power of the land. We're there to connect with stone circles, ancient monuments, even ancient Christian sites. It's a powerful trip, and it's usually kind of a life-changing trip. And we do have a couple more spaces. We try to keep it a small group so that everybody can get a lot of input, a lot of connection, a lot of group energy. So if you're interested in that, go to our website. Our new website is www.infinitelight.me. And you'll see that also on the chat of this Zoom class. You'll see it written out. Those of you that know me, you can always go to my website, which is novalightwork.com, or email me directly, abbyoneil@gmail.com. Same with Jim, JimMcCarthy@gmail.com. So if we're ready, I think we'll just start talking about what we're going to be healing today and go into meditation. Is that good, Jim?
Yeah.
And you can hear me? Okay.
I can hear you fine. I'm gonna unspotlight myself and you're it.
So in terms of conflict, obviously this is a time in history where there's a lot of conflict. A lot of conflict comes at us in the news. A lot of conflict comes at us in our daily life, maybe our jobs, maybe our family. As spiritual people or as empaths, there's a challenge there. As an empath, of course, the biggest problem is we don't want to absorb it. We don't want to take that energy in from people that are upset or even attacking, that are in conflict, and we don't want to pull it into our body. So that's one of the biggest hurdles, I think, for any sensitive person, spiritual person, empathetic person. Um, I think another problem is that we can view all the conflict and it will get hooked in on us. So we can see it in the paper, we can see it on the news, and it kind of drills a little hole in our heart. And we think, wait a minute, I'm spiritual. I shouldn't be tuning into this, but it's very hard not to. What I want to work on today is kind of a little known, perhaps untraditional approach to dealing with conflict inside of ourselves. I want to open up our throat chakra. I started to think about what made me feel conflict, what made me internalize conflict, what made me go back to certain scenarios of my past, certain scenarios of my week, and play them over and over and get more and more upset. And so obviously not good, but it's hard to avoid sometimes. And I realized there was a common denominator, and that denominator was I didn't feel I had a voice. I felt powerless. Sometimes our throat chakra feels blocked to where even if we're saying exactly what we want to say to somebody, we don't feel heard. Sometimes we feel like the government or our job is too big and people aren't listening to us in our job. They aren't appreciating us. They aren't respecting us. I think it's probably one of the most common causes of conflict is people don't feel heard. They don't feel respected. They feel like nobody's listening. And it can build up and build up and build up to where we think, oh my God, what do I do? We feel like we have to have huge defenses. We feel we have to maybe be proactive in some way. But I think the most haunting part of conflict is internalizing it. It's bringing anger or conflict within our body. And as a medical intuitive, a medical psychic, I know that that's also the most damaging part. Conflict can be all around us, in our family, in our relationship, but if we don't bring it inside our body, we're going to be fairly whole, fairly full of light, fairly able to deal with other people's issues without really wounding ourselves or draining ourselves or exhausting ourselves. And I think that's really the most important part. When I was thinking of how I would deal with feeling like I didn't have a voice, I realized that most current situations I think of go right back to the past. In other words, I can be very upset because a friend of mine isn't getting what they deserve, or a family member is not being heard. But where does that hook into me? It hooks into me where I didn't feel heard as a child, where I felt people weren't listening to me at a certain age, where I felt no matter what I said or did, I wasn't getting respected. Nobody was paying attention to me. Nobody was really listening to my needs. That emotion alone can sort of build up over time to where we're plugging into it without realizing it. So that when we hear of other conflicts, we immediately go there. You know, I hear people say, oh, government doesn't hear somebody like me, or that'll never happen because the government's corrupt, or my family won't listen to me, or my family's doing this and that and I don't know how to stop them. Those are the areas of conflict because they're usually places where we want to do something but we can't, or we don't know what to do. So in this meditation we're going to be doing, I want to first of all bring a lot of light to our throat chakra. And I want to rearrange ourselves energetically so that when these moments come up, instead of going back into fear or frustration, we can just go forward and say, okay, I'm bringing in the light, I'm bringing in divine energy. Whatever solution there is for this problem that I'm dealing with today, I can find it. I can connect to that energy and I can go there. So, if we're all ready, I'd like to just go right into a meditation and show you what I'm talking about. So, if you're all comfortable, I want you to get comfortable on sitting, lying down, whatever you feel like. We're going to start out with some deep breathing. I just want you to pull the breath into your body. We're putting aside all our thoughts, all our feelings, and we're just breathing. We're pulling that breath deep inside. We might pull the breath past our chest, even past our belly, on down to our toes. The breath, the peace of the breath is really the opposite of conflict. Conflict erupts through all of our chakras. Our breath, our peace feeling just goes down through all our chakras and calms everything down. Let's take another deep breath. This time, when you take a deep breath, I want you to pull it all the way in and hold the breath. Breathe, hold the breath. Ah, just let it out. Let's do that again. Take in a deep breath. Hold the breath. Feel a moment of stillness. Ah, breathe it out. One more time. Feel the air coming all throughout your body. Hold the breath. Let it out. Now we're going to roll our head on our neck. We're just rolling our head around. We're relaxing the muscles in our neck. We're stretching our neck. If you feel any tension, any hurt places or stiff places, just roll right over them. Be very gentle. We store a lot of tension in our neck. Let's do that in the opposite direction. Just roll around. Just roll your head on your neck, loose and limp, loose and limp. Just relaxing. Now we're going to be as tense as we can possibly be. We're raising our shoulders right up under our ears. I want you to feel the tension through your shoulders, your back, your neck. Now let your shoulders drop. Let's do that one more time. We're pressing the shoulders way high, tense, tense, tense. Now let them drop. Now we're going to raise our hands right up to the ceiling. We feel the stretch from the base of our spine up through our shoulders, our arms, right up to our fingers. And let's stretch a little bit more. Stretch right up to the ceiling. Right up, right up. Now our arms will come down, but very slowly. It's like our hands are snowflakes. It's like we're pressing down through the snow, and it's very difficult because our hands are weightless. Our body is weightless. We just don't weigh anything. We're very light. We're kind of blowing on the wind. There's no part of our body that has any weight in it at all. We're just floating. Just floating. What does it feel like for your body to be weightless? It usually feels so heavy. Now it just feels free and light. Now we're sitting down and we want to lean forward. We want to lean to the side. We want to lean to the back. We want to lean to the side again. If you're standing, you can just rotate on your hips. We just want to make a big circle and stretch out our lower back. Or just stretching. If there's any tension in your lower back, I want you to go right over it. Just feel that stretch, feel that relaxation, just going around in a big, big circle. Now we're going to go the opposite direction. It's still a big circle. We're still leaning into it. We're just going the opposite way. What does that feel like? Are there little stiff places or places that hurt? If so, just go over them very gently, just in a big circle. We're just leaning around, very easily releasing all the tension in your back. Now we're going to sit up straight. For a moment, I want you to simply feel your body. Everything's clear and light now, so what does it feel like today? Remember, in this work, there's no right answers. The only right answer is to observe, to be honest with yourself and just say to yourself, this is how I feel. I want you to imagine a bright, bright light coming down to the top of your head, rushing inside of your body. This is your chi, your life force energy. We're calling it in the name of God, Creator, Great Spirit. It rushes down your arms, it rushes down your legs, it swirls around your heart. This is our life force energy that we never think about, but it's always there. It's constantly moving through our body. It's light, it's effervescent like champagne, but it's so powerful. It moves everything, it runs everything in our body. It fills us with physical energy. And I want you to imagine it centering in your heart. So there's a nice warm feeling in your heart. And then it just pushes out of your heart and surrounds you. It creates an energy field all around you that's constantly there. It's constantly moving with energy. When it reflects light, it's your aura, but it's always protecting you. I want you to take a look at this energy field right now. Can you feel it? If there's any holes or tears or dark spots, if it's thin in some places, remember there's always light pouring through the top of your head. You can fix your energy field. You can just fill it up. Let's pay attention to that now. As you go through your day, you may want an image to connect you with your energy field. You may imagine that you're in a ball of light, a bubble of light. You may see yourself in a pod of light. You may think of yourself as a light bulb where the light is inside of you, but there's a glass shell that's always protecting you. It's important sometimes to think of that because we go out into the world and we can feel very unprotected. If you're an empath, you can feel that people's energy immediately comes either into you or it kind of leans on you and puts pressure on you. The more we pay attention to our energy field, the more we can keep ourselves separate. We can keep a boundary. Just keeping a boundary doesn't mean we're being mean to the people around us that we want to help and support, but we have to keep our energy strong. We have to keep our energy so that we have our own protection with anybody, even the most intimate person. We still need our own strong light and our own strong energy. So think about an image that you can take out into the world and always feel that protection, always feel that safety. Now I want you to go back to your heart. Your heart is sort of the battery of your whole energy system. It's like a generator. Our chi, our life force energy, is run through happiness, joy, contentment, all the good feelings that we have, all the high vibration feelings we have, literally run our body. And our heart is often the place where we connect with those feelings, especially the feelings of love, happiness, joy. I want you to think back over the last week or two, and I want you to think of some moments for you that were really joyful or happy. Now, they don't have to be winning the lottery. They can just be walking your dog, having a great cup of tea, hugging a friend, having a wonderful talk with someone. You know what they are. So let's take a moment and kind of feel that in your heart. How does that feel? Now remember, if it brings up feelings of sadness, first of all, you can go back a little farther to where you really felt happy. Also, just stay in your heart, stay with that, because your heart is recharging. Your heart is letting that sadness go with the new chi that's coming into your heart. And now we're going to give ourselves a little bit more energy in our heart. We're calling in your guides and your angels, those invisible light beings that are always helping us, always healing us. We're asking them to help us to understand energy and to give ourselves a little bit more chi energy. So I want you to put your hands out in front of your heart with your palms up. Now imagine that somebody's going to put an apple or an orange in your hands, except instead of an apple or an orange, it's light, it's energy. If you have a hard time visualizing, if it's almost impossible for you to see light, just move your hands around a little bit. I think they're going to feel warm. If you pull your palms apart, you might feel a little friction, a little energy. Part of understanding our chi is learning how we feel it, and we might feel it differently from the next person. You might get a lot of visuals, you might see light, you might see colors, or you might simply feel something in your body. If you're a very mental person, you can always just say, I ask light and energy to come into my hands. Even if you don't feel anything, it will happen. Take a moment to just see if you feel anything there. Now we're going to say to ourselves, dearest God, Creator, you can say Goddess, you can say Universe, whatever is compatible with your beliefs. I accept this gift of love that you're giving me today. So, in other words, this is the universe giving you pure love today. Let's go back to that feeling in your hands. Does it feel any different? Is it any color? Is it heavy, light, warm, cold? We're just observing energy today. What does it feel like to you? Now I want you to put that light, that energy right into your heart. Did that feel like anything? Now we say to ourselves, I receive it in my heart and in my life. Now we're going to do this again so that we can get a little bit more of the hang of feeling this energy and this light. So again, put your hands out in front of your heart. There's another ball of light, another ball of energy in your hands. Can you feel it this time? Is it any color? Is it any feeling? Is there any message? And if there's absolutely nothing, just say to yourself, there's light in my hands, because just that proclamation connects with the reality of it. Let's feel that for a moment. Now, this energy is a gift from the universe to you today. So it's just designed for you. It could be the answer to a certain problem. It could be a step in a relationship. It could be wisdom. It could be courage. It could be patience. It could be a certain gift of understanding. It could be prosperity, a literal money gift. So let's take a look at this energy in your hands. Are you getting any feeling from it? What is it? Is there any wisdom that's coming to you from this gift? What is your gift today? Now, again, we say to ourselves, dearest God, Goddess, Universe, I accept this gift that you're giving me today. So it's not enough to understand that the universe is always giving you gifts. We also have to literally accept them, and it works. So think about that in your daily life. The more you consciously accept gifts, even if you don't see them right in front of you, more gifts start to come into your life. So again, let's feel that energy in your hands. Is it a different color? A message? What does it feel like? What's coming into your mind as you appreciate it? Maybe it changed. Is there another message? Is it a different color? What does it feel like? I want you to press it right into your heart. This is the part where you accept the gift of the universe today. Feel that energy in your heart. We say to ourselves, I receive it in my heart and in my life. Now, when we feel conflict, we might feel it in different parts of our body. So, since we're still in meditation, I want you to think about a recent conflict and I want you to think about where you felt it in your body. You might have felt it way down deep in your root chakra, sort of a twisted gut sort of feeling. You might have felt it in your stomach. Maybe you just feel nervous and tense. Sometimes conflict can go to our heart. We feel a heavy heart. We feel a constricted heart. We feel it's hard to breathe. How does it feel in your throat? When you're around certain people or when you have to speak up for yourself, do you feel your throat tighten? Do you feel breathless? Do you get sore throats or do you feel like you just can't speak? How about your mind? When you're dealing with a conflict, do you immediately get a headache? Do you feel tension in your head, your forehead, going across your head to the back of your neck? Do you feel tightness in the back of your neck? I want you to take a moment and just think about where you're feeling a conflict. The biggest thing we might have is to learn how to let go of the energy of conflict out of our bodies so we don't carry it around. It's fine if it's in other people around us, but for us, we want to keep our body whole and full of a positive energy. So let's put our hands out in front of our heart one more time. Now, we're going to see another ball of energy in our hands. We're calling on our guides and our angels to help us perceive this energy, this light in our hands. You can see light coming down from above and putting light in your hands. You can see light coming out from your heart, putting it in your hands. But let's just perceive again a ball of light there in your hands. Again, if you have a hard time even seeing anything, just say, I proclaim or I accept that there is energy and light in my hands, divine energy. Can you feel it? Is it starting to feel? Are you starting to see any colors, any feelings that go with it? I want you to take this ball of light, instead of putting it in your heart, I want you to put it right in your throat. Can you do that? Imagine that ball of light is right in your throat now. We're calling on your guides and your angels now to heal your throat chakra. That balloon of light, that sunshine of light fills your throat now. I want you to take a moment and just be present with it. There aren't any right answers, remember. I just want you to feel this energy in your throat and see what it feels like. Light is going to every part of your throat right now. Is it lighting up anything or you're getting any memories? Sometimes it can light up a certain area of your life and you suddenly remember something, or a person becomes very vivid for you. I want you to stay present with that and just look around and see what's coming up for you. If it's a certain memory, a certain person, what are you feeling? Are there emotions coming up? Just imagine your angel is standing right in front of you. And as the emotions come up, as the memories come up, you can just hand them to your angel. If you're feeling like your throat is constricted, if you're feeling upset, ask your angel to take that from you. We're pouring more light on your throat now. It's almost like there's a sunshine in there of light. Is anything else coming up for you? Are you having feelings where your throat is constricted, where you're wondering if you can talk, or any memories coming up for you where you weren't heard or people didn't listen to you? I want you to stay with those memories. I want you to feel them now. Again, whatever memory it was, whatever feeling, your angel is standing right in front of you. You just give it to them. This is all about letting it go. Have them just pull it out of you if it's upsetting. Is there a person that's coming up, a person where they shut you down, where you weren't heard, or whether you spoke but they weren't listening, they did just the opposite? If that person is coming up and you want to cut cords with them, meaning you want to release that draining energy, your angel is right here and they can cut the cord. All you have to do is ask your angel to do it right now. Do you need to forgive yourself for not having a voice or for not having the courage to speak up. If you need to forgive yourself, this is the moment to say that to yourself. Say it to your heart. Say it to a younger version of yourself that might be coming up for you. Let's take a moment to do that now. Now your angel is pulling everything out of your throat that doesn't belong there. They might even be pulling out physical pain. If you feel any stiffness in your neck, any pain in your neck and your jaw, all of those are part of your throat chakra. So if there's any pain, any stiffness, let your angel just pull that out now. Whatever physically is going wrong with your throat, give that to the angel now. Say that you just don't need it. You want to let it go now. Remember, there's that bright, bright light just filling your throat now. If you need to forgive anyone, anyone that you might have cut cords with, if you feel you need to just let them go without even forgiving them, you can do that now. The cords are cut. If anyone took your voice or was suppressing you, you can let them go now. This is that moment to let them go, to forgive them. It's your choice how you deal with it. The point is that they're leaving. They're leaving your throat and they're leaving any possibility of blocking your throat now. Just see them go. See the angel just walking away with them. They're completely gone from your body and your life now. If they're part of your everyday life, it simply means that you won't be affected by them. You won't be drained by them. So don't be afraid to let go of that destructive part of them now. Now your throat is completely cleared. Your angel puts a huge ball of light in your throat chakra now. Can you see it or feel it? If you can't feel it or see it, just accept it. Say, I accept that healing light in my throat. I accept full healing of my throat chakra now. See that beautiful sunball right all throughout your throat. And now your angel is putting bandages of light over your throat so that it can be completely healed. You've completely let go of the past. Your throat is a power center. That's where you express your power. The beautiful light in your throat now means that you are completely connected with your power now. You're completely healed. And we're asking your guides and angels in the days ahead to show you that healing, show you what it feels, and show you the empowerment that you feel now. So see that beautiful light in your throat. You can feel it go down to your heart, go down to your other chakras, go up through your head. Your whole body is filled with light now. Beautiful radiating light, completely protective light. Take a deep breath. Take another deep, deep breath. Feel that light all throughout your body. When you feel ready, just open your eyes. We're going to have time for questions at the end of the class, but for now, why don't you take a little break? It looks like we could take a break of about 7 or 8 minutes, and then I want you to start coming back and hooking in again for Jim's part of the meditation. So take a moment if you want to write anything in your journal, take a little break, and come back right before the hour, right before 3 o'clock here in California, just so we can be all ready for Jim's part of the meditation. Thank you so much.
Okay, Abby, do you have anything to say before we finish? Before I go on?
No, just that we'll be answering questions at the end. And also,
Okay.
if anyone wants us to email them with any information about future classes, those of you that haven't given us your email address, just put them on the chat or email us directly, either one, if you want our future events. And our next class, next Zoom class, will be the second Sunday of March.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, thanks for joining the meeting. I think this topic was my idea. And I don't know why it was my idea, but it just kind of came in whether we were ready for it or not. So I think it's an important topic right now to, really become aware of what's the best ways to approach and deal with conflict, and really how to be more aware and present when it comes up. Because when we're unconscious of it and it comes up, it usually kind of hits us sideways, and we become reactive unconsciously and create things we didn't want to create, which is what we're going to teach about next week. But anyway, the other day I was meditating about fear of conflict, and my guide stepped in, and I was kind of just checking with myself how much fear I had left of conflict, because it seems to be a sticking point for everybody. And I can remember days where if I went out to dinner and the dinner came out cold, I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to have conflict. And somehow or other that healed. And I could easily say something without being emotional, without being nervous about it, without any any really emotions at all. I could just say what the truth was, and I didn't feel bad about it. And that's like a very mild form of conflict. But the other day when I was meditating about it, I was meditating about, clearing fears of conflict. And that was one of the things I spent a lot of time in my life working on. And my guides came in and they said, well, there's an infinite reason for conflicts or for fear of conflict. And I was like, huh? I kind of thought it was one thing, like you had a fear of conflict. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, share with me what this is about. And they said there's really infinite reasons why people are afraid of conflict. Okay. And they said in those reasons, there's lessons. Okay. And in all conflict, there's healing. And I was like, well, conflict is destruction. And they said, no. They said, when you're aware of what's active in you in conflict and you choose to heal that, then it's an opportunity for you to heal. If you are unconscious of it and you just go into blind conflict, it will be destructive. And I was like, okay, I get it, right? So it goes back to everything's about awareness. And I remember back when I was studying hypnosis, I was studying with this really brilliant teacher. And I asked him the question, does like attract like, or does opposites attract? And he said, like attracts like. And I was like, but it didn't really sit well with me. And so later on, I was working with a couple, and one of the people had tremendous fear about trying to set boundaries. And that person had the fear of not being liked, of being attacked, of being bullied, of being, all these things were associated with it. And they attracted a partner that was kind of completely okay with crossing boundaries and bullying people into what they wanted to get their way. And so these two people got together and they got married. And I was like, okay, well, I remembered what my hypnosis teacher said. And I was like, well, that's not like. And at that time, my guide stepped in. They said, yes, it's perfectly alike. They have the same lesson to learn, right? One person needs to learn how to set boundaries, and the other person needs to learn how to respect boundaries. So they have a like lesson, and they were brought together to learn that lesson, okay? Well, needless to say, there was going to be a lot of conflict while they were learning the lesson. And so, conflict in this world is pretty widespread, okay? But there's ways to go about it to where you can use it as a healing tool and a tool to become aware of what you still need to heal. And there's ways to go about it blindly to where you actually create more harm for yourself or for your environment. And I had another teacher who was a Filipino healer, and he had told me at one time, he says, in the future, you're going to have a lot of anger to release. And I was like, okay, I wasn't aware of it at the time. So I was like, okay. And he says, the only difference between you and someone in prison is that you'll be present with it and be able to let it go responsibly. And they reacted to it and caused harm. Right. And that's really, the art of being present with things that are uncomfortable. And so later on in life, I did have a lot of opportunity to clear anger, to clear hate, to clear resentment, to clear all of these wounds. And I remembered what that guy told me was just be present with it. Don't go unconscious, just be present with it. And so I was jotting some notes about, I'm going to let someone back in. I was jotting some notes about conflict, and one thing I want to mention before I go into my notes is at the beginning of Abby's class an hour ago, at the beginning of her part, she said, I don't know how to, I'm not sure I know how to deal with conflict, something of that nature, right? I'm not sure I'm ready to, that I even know how to deal with conflict. And my guides told me to write that down. And I was like, why? And they said, because if someone's in conflict, it's because they don't know what to do. Right. And I realized that when I jotted down my notes for this class, that the times in my life where I've had tremendous conflict, it's when I completely called in the divine light, this all-knowing consciousness, and I admitted I didn't know what to do. And I was really present with the wounds that the conflict was bringing up in me, and I cleared them. Then right thought and right action automatically came spontaneously. So the truth of the matter is that through that process, you don't need to know how to deal with conflict. It comes naturally, the help comes. All you need to do is learn how to get into the position of, okay, I'm afraid of this conflict, and be honest with yourself, you're afraid of it, and I don't know what to do. Please help, okay? And I've talked about this in other classes, but there's been a few times in my life where I was in conflict with lawyers. One, I was being deposed. One, I was, defending myself against one of my own lawyers that was lying in court. And those are two times that came up recently, or in the last 5 years. And on both occasions, I had fear coming up because lawyers were far better at fighting than I was. At least I thought. Okay, so the one time I had a lot of fear coming up, and I was going to an office to have a meeting with someone, and with one of these lawyers, and so I just kind of cleared on the fear. And the way I clear on it is I just feel it, and then I just call in my guides and angels. I call in the divine, and I just say, I give you this fear. I admit I have it, right? I mean, it's like, why deny it? I give you this fear. Please take this out of me and heal all of the thoughts, all of the memories. And I have these prayers that I say, and anybody wants them, just email me and I'll send them to you. But they work. And in this particular case, I did the prayer, I cleared the fear, and as soon as the fear was cleared and I felt comfortable, my guides stepped in and they said, now go in there and speak your truth. And I was like, okay. And so I went in to his conference room, and he was all ready to battle and bully and everything else. And I just said, look, this is what you did. This is what happened. And this is what I feel needs to be done. And then he got all upset. And I just kind of, for some reason, I was kept in complete peace. I had no fear. I had no anger. I had no need to defend myself. I was completely calm. And he spoke his words, and I said, okay, so, what are we going to do here? And then he ended up giving me a credit of like $20,000, which is what I asked for. And that was the last I ever saw of him. It was done, right? I mean, it's like it completely came to a divine resolution. And I learned that, the times in my life where I've had conflict, if I really connected to light first, or the divine, or the highest consciousness that I can connect to, and I surrendered the situation to that consciousness, then the grace of that consciousness would give me guidance on what to say, and it would keep me in a place of peace to where it brought an end to the conflict. Okay. And so there's kind of a recipe that I've kind of learned over the years on how to deal with conflict. But first I want to go through some other things, and then in the meditation, we'll go through that recipe. Okay. But when you're in conflict, the first thing that I do is I recognize, because usually when you're in conflict, there's some sort of fear there, or you wouldn't be in conflict. Okay. There's either fear or anger or whatever. And so we all kind of share the same mind as human beings. So just by sitting with it and feeling it and witnessing the thoughts that are associated with it, you're going to learn a lot about the wounds that are going on or that are active that need to be healed. Because there's never conflict that you have to deal with. It's, that someone's not hearing you, or someone's not respecting you, or someone's crossing boundaries, or you don't feel loved, or you don't feel appreciated, or on and on and on, right? You keep trying harder and harder and harder, and people keep slandering you, right? These are all kind of what's underneath conflict. So when I was writing out my notes for today, it was like, the first thing that came to mind was all conflict is the opportunity to heal yourself, right? If you can become present with it and bring light to it, it's going to heal, because in light, there's no conflict. Okay. So, in light, there's pure harmony. There's no conflict at all. So when you bring something into light and it transforms, there can't be conflict once it's done, right? So that's really the key. And the second important thing is most conflict is created and maintained without any conscious awareness of it. Like, we can have conflict for years and not know the reason why we have the conflict, because we've never looked inside of ourselves as to what's hurting in us. We've always just kind of focused on the other person and said, they're not hearing me, right? We've never gone inside ourselves and healed the wound that this conflict is bringing up in us. So if you go back to like the marriage where one person doesn't respect boundaries and the other person doesn't know how to set boundaries, there's going to be conflict in that relationship until it's healed. And once it's healed, the one person's going to be able to speak their truth and hold boundaries. The other person's going to learn how to respect boundaries. And voila, they've both evolved, right? So it's not a bad thing in the end, right? Sometimes we have to learn when to let go of things, because people are not going to let go of their free will. So some common patterns to create conflict are the need for control, okay? The need for love and approval, prove that you're better than someone else, the need to be right, defending yourself because you feel like you're less than, or you feel guilty, old unresolved hurts to where you think you need to punish or get even, lack of forgiveness or not being able to let go of the past, greed. These are all like patterns in the mind that create conflict. Unconscious perceptions that need to be healed and brought to the surface, conflict will bring them up. Trying to get justice, right? Like, you think someone deserves punishment or they deserve to be called out, or, another one I had to face was trying to get people to realize that someone was lying and stealing and everything else. And I was trying to get everybody to recognize that. And finally someone said, give it up. I was like, what do you mean? And they're just like, what difference does it make as long as you know it's true, right? You don't have to get everybody on your side, right? That'll create conflict, right? Like, what did Christ say? You should know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So if you know they're lying, so be it. They're lying, okay? I mean, you don't have to prove it and get your kids or your spouse to agree with you, okay? Yeah, so under trying to get self-justice, defense, the need to prove yourself or defend yourself from slander or lies, okay? That'll create conflict forever, okay? And the person that wants to control you is just going to keep slandering you to keep you in defense, okay? So these are all things that, unfortunately, I've learned the hard way, but I've learned them over time, okay? Fear of loss. Okay, if you fear you're going to lose something, you might engage a little bit aggressively. creates conflict. You'll try and find some kind of leverage so you don't lose something. Or worse than that, you'll compromise your integrity so you don't lose something. Need to rule by force, that'll create conflict. If your spouse wants to rule you by force, that's going to create conflict. But it's also on your side, if you start bringing light to it and start really doing your own inner work, it's going to make you extremely powerful and strong, because at the end, you just won't allow it. And when you start just to speak your truth without a lot of emotion and quit arguing about it, then it stops. Okay. Afraid of looking bad, that'll create conflict, because people will try to make you look bad, and then you'll go into conflict and try to defend yourself. The need for harmony sounds odd, but that'll create conflict. Okay. If someone wants to control you, they'll just make things, whatever your position is, they'll take the opposite position in order to create conflict. Okay. And if you want harmony, it'll be a long journey. And then when you're attached to an outcome and you're completely attached to it, it'll create conflict. If you're completely resistant to something, it'll create conflict. Okay, so attachment and a resistance will create conflict. I mean, how many times have you ever been in a relationship where someone believes they know what's better for you than you think you know, right? They're like, well, you have to do things my way. And you're like, well, I don't want to do things your way. You're saying that inside. And they're like, well, you need to believe this way, or something bad's going to happen to you. And in your gut, it's not true, but they keep persisting to try to change you to be what they want you to be. It's not very comfortable. Okay. That'll create conflict. Okay. All of these patterns create conflict. And the more you could become aware of them, the more they won't have any effect on you. Okay. So awareness is like the first key to healing things. When you just have conflict ongoing and you've never really looked inside the conflict to figure out what are the mechanics of this, right? What is this bringing up in me? And am I attached to something? Is that what keeps this going? Am I resistant to something? Is that what keeps this going? Am I feel the need to defend myself to this person and have some kind of an agreement that we both believe the same thing? Is that keeping it going? I remember one time I was meditating and I had this lifelong conflict with this person. And I was meditating and she came into meditation and she said to me, I still don't approve of what you're doing. And I said, oh, that's fine. And I said, I don't approve of some of the things you do either, but is it okay if we can still love each other and be kind to each other? And she said, yes. And to this day, we've never had a conflict since. Okay. So it works. It's like you don't have to be the same as someone else. You're not supposed to be. Right? If someone else thinks you should be a certain way, so be it. Doesn't mean you have to be that way. But if you get into conflict about it, that can go on for a whole lifetime. Just that one thing. Okay? So let's see where we are here. So there's really an infinite amount of little buttons behind conflict. Okay? And when you're in conflict with someone, you'll know because you won't feel at peace. And all you have to do is go inside yourself and just say, what does this mean to me? What's coming up in me? And don't worry about the other person because their thoughts aren't your responsibility, right? Their position isn't your responsibility either. And you don't have to please them. Okay. That's another thing that creates conflict, right? So just go inside yourself and say, okay, what is this really bringing up in me? And the second thing is admit you really don't know how to heal it because you don't, or it wouldn't be coming up in you, right? The only thing that heals is that divine consciousness that's the truth. The mind doesn't heal. And the divine consciousness only heals when we go to it and we ask for it to heal, right? As long as we're like in the fight and we're completely attached to our position, we're not leaving any room for light to come in and heal anything. Okay. We have to, like, it's like back to what Abby said, I don't know, I'm not sure I know how to deal with conflict. Well, in the mind, you don't, but her soul definitely knows how to deal with conflict, and she deals with it all the time in terms of in her work and in her healing work and everything else. All healing is resolving conflict, right? And shifting perception. So when you're connected to light, that light automatically brings harmony. And if the harmony can't come because one of the other people won't allow it, it'll bring harmony by breaking the relationship in two and letting harmony happen for both people the way they want it. Like, relationships work really well as long as the people are evolving, but when it starts to become destructive, it's no longer really supportive. Okay. And when relationships get constructive or destructive is when people quit trying. Okay. So when you feel conflict, or when you're approaching conflict and you kind of get uncomfortable, like, oh, this doesn't feel good, check inside yourself and just really become aware of what's active in me right now, right? And try to do it without any judgment. And just don't worry about the other person, because they've got their own consciousness and it's not your responsibility to fix it. Okay. Your first responsibility, like when you're on an airplane, is to put the oxygen mask on yourself. So in conflict, your first responsibility is to heal yourself of the conflict. And 90 some odd % of the time, when you do that, the other person's going to automatically shift, because you're there to learn that lesson. And as soon as the lesson's learned, the universe doesn't need to send you that message anymore. Okay. So the most important thing is just to be present with, what does this conflict bring up in me? Okay. What does this relationship bring up in me right now? Okay. And then just start, jotting down what it is that you need help with. Okay. If you need more courage, if you're afraid of conflict, then just admit, I'm afraid of conflict. Okay. And then just ask for courage and ask for strength. And it'll come when you get the help. What you thought was going to be a conflict will just simply be you speaking your truth and being at peace. And that really is how you deal with conflict. Okay. You bring in help. But anyway, oops, let me see here. Okay. So back to my notes. How you heal conflict in relationships: become consciously aware of what the conflict is activated inside you. Okay. Speak once and then clear the emotional charge you've got going on inside yourself. And then when that's completely cleared, and that might take days, don't push it, don't rush it. You don't have to talk to someone right away because they want you to. Clear yourself first. Okay. And then speak your truth. Once you don't have an emotional charge anymore, just speak your truth. Okay. And if you speak your truth from your heart without an emotional charge, it will heal the conflict. Okay. And the other thing I learned a long time ago was from another hypnotist. His name was Milton Erickson. And he was talking about conflicts. And he was a brilliant psychologist, hypnosis guy, and he was in Phoenix, I believe. There's a lot of books written about him. And somebody asked him, how do you deal with conflict? And he goes, it's really simple. He goes, when my wife and I disagree on something, I'll tell her what my opinion is, and she'll tell me what her opinion is, and we drop it. We don't have to agree. Okay? We are both entitled to have our own opinions, and we don't have to fight for an agreement. We can agree to disagree. And that's it. It ends the conflict. Whereas with some people, that conflict could go on for 50 years, right? Just one argument go on for 50 years, okay? Another thing to help let go of a lot of conflicts is let go of the past, okay? Just, I give myself permission to let go of all my past conflicts and forgive all the people I was in conflict with, and just allow it to take place through grace, okay? So some of the ways you can assist with healing conflict within yourself is to clear your emotional charge, speak your truth without an emotional charge. And by the way, your truth doesn't have to be what they want to hear. It just has to try to do it with kindness, okay? And if you don't have a charge, you probably will. But just say, this is, like if someone wants you to be different than you are, I'm just say, I like being this way, and I'm going to choose to be this way. That's it. And if they don't drop it, then it's on them, okay? But just if they come back and they want to re-engage you with the same thing, say, we've already had that discussion. I'm not up to discuss it anymore, okay? Let them go in a different direction, okay? Don't keep fighting over the same thing. So, and then, yeah, so speak your truth, but it's okay to disagree, to agree to disagree, okay? Give up the need for harmony, okay? You don't have to be like someone else. And if you don't want to be like, if you don't want to be, take if you don't want to accept what they're trying to make you accept, don't, okay? If you do, you're going to have another problem anyway, right? And you're going to have to heal yourself from that. But, just try to get clear and try to be in your truth. And that really will facilitate dealing with any conflict, okay? And also respect other people's truth. If they're not like you, so be it. Find someone who is, right? Okay, another thing my guides told me was give up the need to control others or think you know how they should be, okay? That will create conflict. Let them be who they are, okay? Unless they're your kids and they're destroying themselves, then as a parent, you've got to kind of help them prevent that. But other than that, just let people be who they are. And if you don't like who they are, then find someone you like who they are, okay? Give up the need for other people's love, approval, or acceptance, okay? When we're dependent on other people's love, approval, and acceptance, then it creates conflict. Because when we don't get it, we get upset. And there becomes an energetic conflict between the two of us. So just let go of the need of their acceptance. Let go of your expectations of others. Let go of your expectations of God or source, because when you go to God or source, it's going to bring the truth, whether you like it or not. So just try to be as open as you can, and you'll get healed in ways that you'll always enjoy, but you may not have thought you would enjoy it. And then let go of the need to control outcomes in relationships. Put the light first, put the divine first, and give it permission to bring the best outcome for this relationship and for your highest good, and trust it, okay? A lot of conflict, when I look into it, it has to do with the little I thinking I need to be in charge, and I know what the outcome should be, and I know what's right and what's wrong and this and that. And all of that kind of creates you to have to carry the burden. And the lesson is to look at those states of mind, but to invite the divine or the source energy in that's all knowing, and really give it permission to lead the way. And you might have talks with people that went super smooth, and you don't know how it happened, right? I mean, Abby and I just experienced something like that, and it worked, right? But it's all about just trusting and sending light before you, right? One of the guys I worked with was a mystic, and one of his prayers was, God, go before me and make the crooked places straight, prepare mansions for me. And basically what you're doing is you're giving the light permission to go to these meetings you're going to have, or go to these relationships that are in conflict, and start to heal everything that's creating that conflict, even if you don't understand it. Okay. And that's what we're going to do in the meditation today, if that's okay. And then we'll go into questions. All right. So I remember one time I was at a spiritual event and they wanted me to host one of these events, and it was for someone with a very high consciousness, and he's followed by thousands and thousands of people around the world. And the presenter, I was in Switzerland, and the presenter had met me in America, and she says, Jim, we really want to do some events in America again. And she goes, if you'd be open to hosting any or helping out, it would be appreciated. And I said, okay, I'll give it some thought. And she goes, thank you. And that was it. She never went into any trying to push me, manipulate me, control me, tell me it would be good for me, tell me anything else. It was just like, that was it. And there was absolutely no energetic, because I feel everything. There was no energetic energy that was like a strong energy, like a bully type energy to try to get me to make a choice I didn't want to make, right? All of that is very subtle ways that creates conflict. And she just said this, and I was like, I'll think about it. And she goes, thanks. And she gave me a hug, and that was it. And I was like, well, why didn't she bully me? I was used to people really trying to forcefully get me to do things they wanted me to do. And it was just like, she completely respected free will. Okay. When you don't respect free will, you create conflict. Okay. So really over the next, if you want to really get some blessings over the next few weeks, anytime you have a conflict come up, just call in your guides and angels and ask them to clear anything that's active in you that would create conflict in this relationship, and ask them to lead you, guide you, direct you, and protect you to resolve the conflict for the highest and best good of you and the person that you're with. Okay. And then just let it go. And you'll start getting right thought, right action without taking thought. And that's really, if you approach conflict from an emotional charge where you're afraid or anger or whatever, it's going to keep going. But if you can bring light in and clear that, underneath that, you're going to be connected to your heart, and your heart will do no harm to anyone. Okay. It will only bring, harmony and resolve things in a way that's best for all involved. Okay. So I want to go into kind of a meditation that you can use. Since it's being recorded, you can use it whenever you want to, but it's going to be just kind of setting the foundation to where if you've got something that there's a lot of conflict in your life, to really surrender that to the light first and let the light clear you of anything that's active in you and heal you and heal your thoughts, and also bring light to the whole relationship, but really let that consciousness take charge. Okay. So if we're ready, I'm going to take off my glasses. And the first thing we always do with anything in terms of Abby and I is we always just call them the divine presence or the Holy Spirit, whatever word you have for that consciousness that's all knowing, that knows everything, that's all loving, causes no harm, and that's all powerful. Okay. And would never ever do anything that would harm you. Okay. So just close your eyes, and I just invoke the divine presence. And as soon as you can feel that energy come in that's peaceful, some of you will feel energy, some of you will see light. But as soon as you feel it, just kind of give thanks that it's there. And then call in your divine guides and angels. They're all knowing and they know exactly what your lessons are. They know everything about you and they know everything about whoever you would be in conflict with. And now I want you just to allow this divine light to come in through the top of your head. Just let it fill your mind for a minute. And ask it to bring peace to your mind. And maybe just dissolve any thoughts that no longer serve you, that were active in your mind. And now let this light come down into your throat. And just give it permission to fill your throat with divine light, divine love, divine truth. And clear anything in your throat that would block your pure expression, would block you from speaking your truth. Just allow that to be cleared and transformed. And then let that light come down into your heart chakra. And let it fill your heart with light, your lungs. And just breathe that light into your heart. And let it expand. And let it fill your heart and your lungs and your chest with complete light, complete love, complete truth. Now let that light come down into your solar plexus. This is your will center. And just fill this will center with divine light. And just let it expand. And ask for the light to remove and dissolve anything that's been projected into your will center that no longer serves you, or that wasn't in alignment with your true will. Anything that you took on out of obligation, out of fear. Just let this light dissolve it. And you don't need to know how it knows how to do it. Just say, please dissolve anything operating in my will center that no longer serves me. And now let this light go down into your second chakra. And just let it fill your second chakra with light. And ask the light to gently dissolve and release any anger, any frustration, any emotions that are stuck down there from conflict in the past. Just release it. And forgive and release all souls that you've ever been in conflict with. Let them go. And just give the light permission to resolve any old conflicts and bring forgiveness to any old conflicts that were still active in this area of your body. Just breathe light into that area. And then release anything that needs to be released back up into the light. And just let this light keep expanding. Allow it just to consume and dissolve anything that no longer serves you. And while it's doing that, I want you to focus back on your heart chakra again. Let this light come down through the top of your head into your heart area. And then form a big ball of light out in front of you. Put your hands out. And just let this infinite light come down through your head, out through your heart, and start to fill your room with light. Start to fill your environment with light, with love, with peace, with truth. And I want you to allow this light to form a big ball of light in your hand. And just let that light expand. And know that you don't have to tell the light what to do. It already knows what to do. Now I want you to think of someone that you want to resolve conflict with. And I want you to call them into this light. Just call them into this ball of light. And when you call them into the ball of light, notice if anything activates in your body. Did anything get tense? Did you feel any emotion? Did you have any thoughts? Just let them come up. Anything that needs to come up, just let it come up. It won't hurt you. You feel sadness, just feel sadness. And now I want you to let all these feelings, all of your thoughts, any emotions, any memories, just let them go into this light as well. Any agendas you have for the relationship, any positions you've taken, any expectations you've been holding on to, any desires you've held on to, just let them go into the ball of light. And now when you look at this person that you brought into the light, is there a part of you that needs to change them, to control them, to make them different, to get their love and approval, to please them? Just let that go too. Let all of it go. And just ask this person, they'll allow this light, this love to heal them, to bless them, to give them what they need for their highest good. To protect them. And then just respect whatever answer they give. If they don't want it, so be it. It's okay. If they do want it, just hold light for them. Now let's go back to this divine light. Ask this light, this consciousness, this all-knowing, loving consciousness, to heal anything that's active in you that would be feeding conflict with this person, that would be bringing conflict into your life. Just ask that it gets healed and transformed so that you can live in peace, so you can live with kindness, with love, so that you have the courage to speak your truth and remain at peace. Just ask this consciousness to heal you. And heal anything operating within you that would generate conflict. If any emotions come up, let them go. Just acknowledge them and let go of them. And let this light take them out in due time. Now give the light and your guides and angels permission to continue to heal any conflict in this relationship to the point where you're at peace and back into your own power. Remember, you can't control what the other person chooses, but just ask for the light to heal you. Now I want you to expand this ball of light and connect it to the sun. And thank this person that you brought in for coming in. And then allow them to leave this light ball and just go back up into the sun, back to source. And ask the divine to take care of them, to continue to give them what they need for their highest good, and to continue to give your relationship with them what it needs for your highest good. Just surrender and give full permission. And now recognize that you have free will to make your own choices in life. And you have free will to work with this light that knows how to heal and bring divine resolution, divine peace, divine blessings, and is always wanting to help you. And you realize that when you're in conflict because you don't know any better. And that's when you call in the divine light and you ask it to help you because it knows how to resolve conflict. It knows how to bring harmony. It knows how to bring peace. And its desire is to bring peace. Now I want you to focus back on the top of your head and allow that light to fill your whole body. Just breathe it in. Let it expand. And let it clear anything in you that needs to be cleared. And just release your breath. Thank this consciousness for its blessings and its help. And ask it to continue to help you. To continue to dissolve all your conflicts so you can live in peace. When you feel comfortable, take another breath and then open your eyes and reorient yourself back into your room. Okay. Now we're going to open up questions and comments. If anybody wants to share anything, just raise your Zoom hand if you know how to do that. Oh, all right, Ollie. Cool.
Hey, Jim, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Jim,
me?
I can very much. Thank you, Jim. My question is is there some sort of time frame we can expect for this clearing to take place? Because been a while now, and I'm wondering if I'm not doing it right, or if sometimes it might just take longer than I would think.
Well, sometimes it takes longer than you might think. Okay, it depends on, lifetimes of karma, depends on how much you surrender, and it depends on how much the other person surrenders. Okay, the most important thing, Ollie, is to focus on what you can do, and that is to completely call in this light and just say, hey, I have no idea what to do. Please give me clarity. Please help me understand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let go of any expectation of how you think it needs to unfold. Okay. Just completely trust. And sometimes, when I was talking about that story with the lawyer, it happened pretty much immediately. I mean, I had a 10-minute conversation, and that was the last I ever really was with him. And then later on, I got deposed by another lawyer, and I did the same thing. And about halfway through the deposition, he started scratching his head, and then he quit my case afterwards, and I never had to go up against the guy again. Right? He was like an extreme bully too. And he just kind of, after that deposition, I never saw him again. I never heard from him again. I never got an email from him again. It was done. Okay.
Yeah,
So
these stories of yours are a bit discouraging because your results are so instantaneous that I think, hey, weeks later, maybe something's not going right.
Go deeper into yourself, Ollie, and just really ask for clarity and understanding as to what you need to heal in yourself. Okay. And also really be cautious of, I let go of any expectation of how I think this relationship needs to be. Okay.